Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock, Drogheda. There's a lovely account of a healing miracle in Luke's Gospel and Luke chapter 17 and verse 11. It says, "Now on his way to Jerusalem, Jesus traveled along the border between Samaria and Galilee. And as he was going into a village, 10 men who had leprosy met him. And they stood at a distance and called out in a loud voice, 'Jesus, Master, have pity on us.' When he saw them, he said, 'Go, show yourselves to the priests.' And as they went, they were cleansed. And one of them, when he saw he was healed, came back, and praising God in a loud voice, he threw himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him, and he was a Samaritan. And Jesus asked, 'Were not all 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9? Was no one found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner?' And then he said to him, 'Arise and go, your faith has made you well.'" There's an obvious message in that parable, and there's a message that is often hidden and missed. The obvious message is that we need to be grateful to God. Ingratitude is a horrible thing. Have you ever been in a situation where you've done something for somebody, you sacrificed, you went out of your way to do something kind or to bless them or to be generous to them, and they didn't even say thank you, and they just threw it back in your face? You know, I can remember one time helping a young man out, driving all the way across Dublin to help him out, because I wanted to bless him. And I remember him later saying on social media, "You don't get anything at the Solid Rock for free, do you?" And I'm thinking, gosh, I should have charged you for that, all that time I spent on you, shouldn't I? But you know what? Ingratitude, it hurts, but we're all guilty of it at some time. And we should not have ingratitude towards Jesus Christ. When others have ingratitude to us, we need to forgive them. We need to let it go. But we should not show ingratitude towards Jesus. We should be able to thank him and say, "Lord, I just love what you've done for me. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart." But there's also a hidden message here, and it's this. Out of all the lepers that got healed, this one came back to give thanks. But the one who came back to give thanks, because he had an attitude of gratitude and because he came to give thanks, he received something extra from Jesus. In fact, in many ways, what he received may well have been more important than just that one act of physical healing, because he received a principle that he could continue to use for the rest of his life. Because right at the end of that parable, Jesus said to him, "Rise and go, your faith has made you well." Because if he had not heard those words, he would have just said, "Oh, the reason I was made well was because I was lucky enough to bump into Jesus." But now he understood it was not just the fact that he bumped into Jesus, it was his faith in Jesus that made him well. Why would I say that that may well have been better than his original healing from leprosy? I mean, after all, leprosy was a horrible, debilitating disease. Surely, what could be more better than that? Getting healing, leprosy. Well, leprosy would not be the last challenge that this man would face. Now, the other 9 lepers that never came to say thank you, they never learned that the real key to their healing was not that they were lucky enough to bump into Jesus. The key to their healing was that they put faith in Jesus. And because they never learned that principle, later on, as they would encounter more difficulties in their lives, and let's face it, we all do. We look at our life and we see a great difficulty and we think, if this thing was gone, my life would be happy and I'd live happily ever after. It's not like that. You face more difficulties. And when they faced more difficulties, they didn't have this truth. They didn't know that it was their faith that had healed them. So they would sit there and I don't know what came next. Maybe they lost their home or it could have been another sickness or something else, or something happened to a loved one or a relative. And they're saying, "Oh, I wish I could be lucky enough to bump into Jesus again." But this guy, he knew, because he had an attitude of gratitude, because he was the only one to come and say thank you. He knew that it was his faith that had healed him. And therefore, in every other situation that he found himself where he needed help from God or a miracle, he didn't have to sit around saying, I wish Jesus would come along again. He would say, hang on, it was my faith that healed me, and I can put my faith in Jesus now. So there's a double lesson here. It's great. Yeah, we should be grateful. And yes, it is our faith that works on our behalf, faith in Jesus, but also that when we operate with that attitude of gratitude, that can actually be a gateway to learning more things from God that are going to take us further in future. Or may we put this into action as the people of God. God bless you today. Thank you for joining us, and join us again next time for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock, Drogheda.